My name is Robert James. I'm the Superior of the Order of the Holy Cross. We have 3 houses, the Mother House here in West Park. We have a priory in Toronto, and we have a priory in Hermanus, South Africa. I also serve as the chair of the Board of Trustees for Holy Cross School, which is in Grahamstown, South Africa. I do spiritual direction. And I've served as the chaplain for the Young Adult Service Corps. As superior of the order, I really serve as a focal point to unite the houses, the brothers who are living in different houses. My role is primarily pastoral, although I'm the chief administrator for the corporation of the order. It's very defined by our constitution, also our founder's rule, and of course the rule of Saint Benedict, which we live by. The founder does not say very much about the superior, except the superior should be respected and obeyed. Benedict goes into a more elaborate description, primarily seeing the superior as a loving father in God to the brothers, a pastor. The superior fits into a larger scheme in terms of the governance of our order. The ultimate authority in the order is the chapter of the order, which is comprised of the life-professed members of the order. Those monks meet annually. They also elect from their number 5 members of the order's council. Our constitution outlines what duties and responsibilities and powers each of those bodies have, so that there's a wonderful balance of power. We often don't think ourselves capable of things, and it often takes the community to call us to a larger sense of ourselves, to own more of our gifts, more of our talents. And that has very much been the case in terms of my initial years as superior and where I find myself doing the job now. I've lived through the tenures of 2 previous superiors. They were very different personality-wise from me. They had different gifts, but they brought gifts that the order needed. And I think that this is true at this point in the order for me. Africa came about because I had been a parish priest right here in Ulster County for 17 years, and the superior then thought it best that I get as far away as possible from the situation that I had been living in. And so I went to do my postulancy in Africa, and of course, fell in love with it immediately. It is one of the most beautiful places in the world. And where our monastery was extremely beautiful. But the challenges in South Africa are not small. There is a lot of poverty, a lot of violence, a lot of abuse, and that was to become more and more real to me as I lived there. In all, I was there about 7 years. When we went to South Africa, the intention for the 3 brothers that began the foundation was that they would go and be a praying Benedictine presence, and that God would reveal what was most necessary. What was revealed pretty quickly was the need for education. The monastery is about 7 kilometers outside of the town itself, and it's very rural with farms. So we began transporting all of the local children from the farms and placing them in schools. As this developed, we realized there was a need to start an after-school program. The after-school went for about 6 years. And what we realized at the end of that was that no matter how the children applied themselves or the level of teachers we had, that it was impossible for them to catch up. What we decided at that point was the thing we needed to do was to actually begin a foundation phase school from grades 1 to 4. So we began that in a little 2-room house where we had the after school. That was when the order gave permission for us to build the new school. My time as principal of the school was a little nerve-wracking, dealing with South African bureaucracy in the education ministry, but there was a tremendous amount of reward for me just in terms of exposure to the children day in and day out. It was life-changing. You knew that they were loved, that they had a place, and that the place was a safe place. It was so generative in terms of dealing with young people coming into their own. Just being around children that age, you can influence them so much for the good. When I came back to West Park to be formator here after my time as principal in South Africa, I really was anxious about how I would settle back into the U.S. But it didn't take long at West Park for me to just be so drawn to and appreciating the beauty of the property here. What I think draws me here at West Park is not only the physical setting, but the way we live the life here. The monastery church has always been my spiritual home. There have been other significant places, but I've always considered St. Augustine's Chapel, the stark simplicity of it, the beauty of it, and the holiness of it, that it's just so drenched with prayer. So being able to celebrate the Eucharist there, to be able to pray the office there in choir, it undergirds our whole life. Well, the ministry at Holy Cross Monastery is primarily a guest house ministry, although we have had brothers and do have a brother who right now is in charge of a parish. And certainly we go out to parishes to do mission work and quiet days. Our brothers go out to seminaries to do spiritual direction on a regular monthly basis. I wouldn't say that the order has one charism or that even we at Holy Cross Monastery have one charism, although guest house, guest ministry, and spiritual direction rate very high. But we have had brothers who have been nurses, who have been teachers, who have been seminary professors, who have been psychoanalysts. One of our brothers has just come back from living 4 years, testing his vocation in an eremitical life with the Camaldolese Benedictines, who we have a covenant relationship with. We're pretty diverse in terms of our gifts. We as Benedictines really want to cultivate whatever gifts we have. For such a small group, we're a pretty gifted group of people. I think the first quality I would say is that they really have to have a desire for God. There needs, even if that can't be put into words, there needs to be a sense of something missing and some desire. And I think close to that, there has to be a willingness to know themselves. Self-knowledge is absolutely crucial. If we're not willing to know ourselves, we can't allow ourselves to be known by anyone. And that would be a very difficult life for someone living in community. Benedict and the rule is all about what builds community, and that community is the vehicle that we come to know God, and that we come to know each other, and in fact ourselves as well. There are going to be people who, in a diverse community that we do not hand select, are going to push every button in us, and we're going to have to recognize those parts of ourselves that they are reminding us of. That is where real conversion happens. And Benedict knew that. He knew that it would only be in community that we would be able to see those parts of ourselves that we are very good at covering up. This life is not about the head, it's about the heart. And I think that the best way that we experience God is not in books, but in encounters with God. Very often it happens in relationship with your brothers in the house, or with those we are doing ministry with outside of the house. As our founder says, unless it contributes to our prayer, any study is a dishonesty. So one doesn't have to come prepared for monastic life in a theological sense. One has to have a desire for God, a desire to know themselves, and an openness and the courage, I think, to step up and risk seeing if that life is for you.